real speakers, real coaches, real investors, real companies. No matter your destiny, all roads lead to Real Leaders Unite.
Thank you. A lot working there? All right. Well, as you get to the afternoon session of an event that crushes your brain for 2 days straight, kind of leans out, right? Especially with, so we should move this out to the deck so we could have the open air session. Well, thank you very much for those of you to kind of come and attend. And this is an interesting topic. So I was talking with Kevin and Mike, because I speak on this to a ton of organizations, and was trying to figure out what would be a unique way to kind of go about this. That was particularly appealing for this group. And this is actually something we really uncovered that's, again, an interesting, ironic finding with this. When you think of outsourcing, you don't think about it actually amplifying your internal employees. And so came with this title of 3 that I gave them, so hopefully we chose wisely, and this ends up being very valuable for everybody here. I'm going to go fast. I'm a pretty fast talker, high energy. This is being kind of recorded. The worksheets here I'll talk about in just a second here, but I'm going to go through case studies, examples, going to show you some static content, some video content to kind of show you through case study and example kind of what I'm talking about with the subject matter. So an ironic talent solution, how to retain and attract internal or local talent by outsourcing. And as she just shared, right, for all of us though, it all starts kind of with our family, and just very brief background, sort of context of what led me to the contact today. So that's my wife, Cindy. She was a second and third grade teacher for 13 years. And my daughter, Ella, and my son, Braden. And as of this last weekend, Chloe Matilda Stevens, which has been added to our household. Little labradoodle that now I'm at the very bottom of the totem pole in my house. But that's my daughter at our daddy-daughter dance. She was more important than anything else there. Anyway, I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. Grew up in an entrepreneurial type family. One of those that like had a whiteboard permanently hanging over the fireplace, kind of growing up with ideas flying around. And so, kind of like Damon was talking about, everybody's got their lemonade story. So in 3rd grade, I rented micro machines. Remember the little tiny toys? The guy that spoke really fast. So I had about 600 of those I brought into my little Christian school in Crown Royal bags. And I rented them to all of my classmates in 3rd and 4th grade. Until I got shut down, similar to how Damon talked about, by my teacher. But I had a VP of marketing, I had frequent shopper cards. But then I started a tutoring company in high school as well. And then went to college, started at Harvard, then transferred down to Wharton Business School, finished up there, and wanted to get back home to Atlanta afterwards. Was going to work for an investment banking company, and they ended up going under 2 weeks before I was supposed to start. So about 2 weeks before I was supposed to start, go to training, I got 3 months severance pay and my signing bonus, and never worked a day for the company. So I like 20 grand in my pocket, 20 years old. I was like, I'm just gonna go find the next failing company and make like a career out of this. But it was one of those forks in the road, and had this amazing apartment with another single guy, and he and I were gonna just love living downtown and making good investment banking money, but that changed. Tucked my tail, moved back in with my parents, and started my first company with my uncle, actually. So had some other offers on the table with other companies and decided to go that other path. And that's all I've done the last 25 years. My first company had my mom, my grandmother, and an aunt in a room about this big, answering phones, helping low-income people get free medications with the patient assistance program. So been an entrepreneur from the beginning, and over the last 25 years, built and grown different companies, product-based businesses, service-based companies. So probably walked in all of your shoes in different capacities. My last company that led to this is we were manufacturing and distributed teeth whitening products globally. And long story short, we had one product manufactured in Taiwan, changed a component, reacted with the teeth whitening gel, and we shipped about 10,000 grenades globally. So the product would blow up in the hands of our clients. So it's one of those crashing moments. But the silver lining was cash got tight, and it forced me to learn about this whole offshore and gig economy world because I had to make dollars stretch, and I had to figure out how to make it happen. And I'd read Tim Ferriss' 4-Hour Workweek. Maybe some of you read like 12 years ago. That's like the main reference point for all this. Forced me to learn how to do it, helped me save that company at the time, and we ended up selling it to our manufacturer, and I just fell in love with the subject matter. And what I'm doing now is the most aligned I've ever been in my life. I literally don't know what other business I would do beyond this because it's the most fulfillment I get out of anything that I've done. So that led to doing speaking and consulting on it for a couple years, and then actually it was my EO forum that encouraged me, like, Brad, why don't you just launch your own business on this, So we launched Outsource Access 2019, right before the pandemic, and we've grown to, like you said, 500 people, about 4.5 years, serving a bunch of different industries. And crazy story, kind of a testament what I'll share with you is that young woman there, Jaysel, was my very first VA I hired off a job board in the Philippines. 22-year-old woman, grew up in a dirt village, never been a VA before in her life, and she has climbed the ranks with me as now my president and COO over 500 people. Has been able to raise her lid and level up and kind of grow. And that's from our holiday party recently, this past December, so you can see 500 folks kind of crammed into a room, but Filipinos know how to party for sure, so we do lots of parties. But yeah, we hire by full-time employees, we're fully incorporated, and we serve a bunch of different industries that'll kind of drive the case studies I'll share. Briefly, look, there's tons of great countries to outsource to, and I'm in the middle of, I'm actually going with my YPO forum to Guatemala at the end of this month. We're looking at launching Guatemala for an additional location there. The Philippines, for those of you not familiar in terms of like, what your experience level has been in visiting, but the United States controlled it up until 1947. So it's Americanized culture, English speaking. English is a second language, hardworking discipline. They're graduating about 800,000 four-year college degree individuals per year. Again, there's tons of other great countries, but for purposes I'll be talking about today, we'll kind of reference this. But for the same reasons in Latin America, Central America, and otherwise, right? You can get a full-time person working for anywhere from $600 to $700 a month to $1,800, $1,900 a month, depending on if you go through a job board or if you go through like a managed service company, kind of like with what we do. But in any case, for 15 to 20 grand a year, you can get a full-time resource working for you or your employees for 40 hours a week, right? It's game-changing when you learn how to integrate it and leverage it, which I'll talk about. So a lot of people think of outsourcing as call centers and bookkeeping and what have you. I'm going to show you kind of a different angle of it. And then the other company, yes, you mentioned we launched this one-on-one connections, which I'll talk about. Because of knowing how to use VAs and outsourcing, got this company up and out of the ground in 2 weeks for $500. And now we've done 20,000 connections globally and serviced 40 organizations. So my life, I kind of bucket into four. Building, which is building the companies I just shared about. Growing, real leaders, YPO, EO. Third bucket is sharing, so thought leadership. I have a podcast called Automate and Delegate. Got a TEDx talk, do a lot of speaking, do a lot of writing. So a lot of you are in these same buckets here. And then the fourth is giving. Huge part of my life, both with my company. My wife and I are very involved with Compassion International. Helps fund child development centers throughout the country. So me and a YPO made a split funding development centers, support about 500 children in Brazil, Guatemala, Philippines. And then United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which a lot of you are familiar with. Because of EO, I got a chance to speak at the floor, the headquarters of the UN, and that's when I first learned about the SDGs 4 or 5 years ago. And got very passionate about it, and as a framework, how to integrate it into our company and our business. So every quarter, we hired a full-time consultant in the Philippines. That we survey our employees. We let them drive the decision. What do you care most about? And then we do initiatives tied to SDGs. So last time I was there, we planted 300 trees in mangroves to offset carbon emissions, life on land, zero hunger, right? We've done projects around that. So that's kind of me as far as the buckets. And you got a worksheet in front of you here. I'm going to cover a bunch of tools and resources. If you send an email to tools@outsourceaccess.com and just put United in the subject line, or if you just want to scan that QR code or the one that's on your sheet there, I'll send you a whole bunch of templates and tools related to this. This guide we have called our top 200 automate and delegate tools, which are kind of innovative like tech tools. And then a bunch of webinar recordings that I go deep dive on some other subjects that I won't be able to kind of get to today. So the preface of the subject matter today is this question, right? Is do your staff wake up every day doing what they love? So when it comes to leadership, and I don't know about you guys, but for me, the last year has been purgatory about getting the next level of leaders in my organization. We get to 500 people, the level of complexity and things that we're navigating. So regardless of size, I'm fanatical about Jim Collins. It's first who, then what, right? We got to get the right people in our organization. And it's all about trying to get people and getting them doing what they love the most and what is the best use of their time. And a lot of people and a lot of your employees and staff and so forth, and I'm going to share a lot of examples of sort of how we've seen this, the proverbial wearing tons of hats. And there's not enough time to get it done, there's not enough money to get it done, can't get it fast enough, or don't have the knowledge base around it, right? So it's about elevating people to the highest and best use of their time, which we'll kind of go through and share. Because fundamentally, and there's tons of resources that talk about what do people care about, right, at work, right? But some of the key things that we continue to see in our surveys are people just want to be recognized that they exist and that they matter, right? I write personal welcome messages to every single frontline VA that comes on board with us, and you would think that I'd given them eternal life, right? The novels that they'll share back. To be part of something bigger than themselves. But then thirdly, and especially with your employees, and this applies to all of you, right? You and your staff, right? Is to make meaningful progress in their work and their career, right? People want to wake up every day and do work that they feel like they're making progress. And a lot of times they get overwhelmed with all the things. They're wearing 800 hats. They're given more tasks, more shiny balls, more things from all of us as CEOs. And they're not making meaningful progress, right? And they're stressed out and they're frustrated. So those are kind of the key things that kind of look at. So an exercise to kind of unpack this, and this is what we do with tons of clients, and it's very simple, right? It's very simple, and as we know, the simplest things are often the best, which is this 2-question exercise is one, right? And just literally you take these 2 questions, you send it to your staff and say, we're going to have a meeting in a week. What are you currently doing that you feel is not the best use of your time, and how many hours per month are you spending on it? As simple of a question as it is, right? And these questions are on this worksheet here too, which we'll do as an exercise at the end. And give them the psychological safety to truly put on there what they feel, right? You may disagree with some of it, but what do you think is you're doing that isn't the best use of your time? And then secondly, what are things on the radar that from your unique perspective in this company that you want to be doing or you think we should be doing as a company that we are not due to time, money, or knowledge constraints, right? I'm telling you, I've done this tons of times. It is absolutely fascinating the outcome that occurs from this when you ask your staff these 2 questions. And so this is, I'll send you guys a Google template resource of how you can actually organize this data once you ask your clients. But I want to take you through a quick case study of a company that I just did this with several months ago. So this is a technology firm in Atlanta, about $20 million business, and they're exploring the whole world of outsourcing and VAs. They're growing. And so I said, take these 2 questions, send it to all your managers, and they had a big manager meeting there with about 15 managers in a room, sent it to them, went a week later, and this is the actual document from their output, and we'll zoom in on this, right? Over 100 items. This CEO was blown away across all departments, marketing, operations, customer service, every different division, right? And you can see here, like, what is it? Is it a current task you're doing or one that's on the radar? What's the department? What's the item? And if it's something you're currently doing, how many hours per month are you spending on it, right? It was unbelievable sort of what, and I've, again, seen this tons and tons of times, what kind of gets unpacked. So kind of zoom in on a couple of these. And the thing is if you never outsource a thing, this is a phenomenal exercise to do in your business, at least once every 6 months or certainly once a year, right? You'll unpack and understand constraints and challenges that you never knew existed, right? Johnny's still doing TPS reports and sending them to you, and he has no idea that you don't even look at them or care, right? But he's still spending 4 hours a month doing TPS reports, right? So to zoom in on a couple of these, right? There's a ton of them, but for example, in the roadblocks category, things that you're currently doing that you want to offload, the sales BDR team said identifying accounts and contacts for prospecting. Spend 120 hours a month among them doing that process, right? Some of you may say that's what they're supposed to be doing in that role, but at the end of the day, you want high people that are closing deals, being on the phone, not putzing around in the CRM system and messing around on LinkedIn and wasting time for their $60,000 base plus commission, right? Getting business cards and CSV lead data entered from trade shows. The CEOs, you're doing that? Like, we went to the trade show, yeah, I get that CSV file from the trade show, and I got all these business cards, and I'm sitting there entering them into the CRM, right? Spending 20 hours a month doing that. Customer support said, hey, we're explaining to clients how to set up filters, run reports, and et cetera on how to use the product. It was a software product sold to the healthcare industry. The product's supposed to do that on its own in terms of like process to go through it, but their customer support team was spending 30 hours a month teaching employees or teaching their clients how to use this, actually running it and using it for them. And similar in the tech department, the technology department, these high-cost software developers, they were spending 30 hours a month doing application quality assurance testing, right? That's very routine, just run through and testing and seeing if things are working or not. That easily could be outsourced to another resource to do it. And then grunt work, which we spent about 30 minutes talking about what grunt work was, and they made it very clear, like, these are things that we're doing that isn't best use of my $80,000 base software developer internal team member. And then marketing. Marketing is like, yeah, building out and loading email nurture sequences after they're created, right? They come up with the strategy, they come up with the content, but then it's got to be loaded into the CRM, uploaded, the text, the images, the links, and so forth, right? All not a good use of their time, right? And then adding content to the website, testimonials, new release features. Again, $60,000 base employee that's loading up testimonials isn't the best use of time. So you can see the idea, right? You start unpacking all this stuff, and it becomes very clear, this whole collection of stuff that can be packaged. And then in the second bucket is what is opportunities, things that are on the radar that you think we should be doing, they're not getting to, right? And here's a couple of examples. Product development said, we absolutely need to be monitoring U.S. healthcare policy and government affairs, right? I can't get to it, I don't have enough time to do it, but we need to be doing this and monitoring this newsletter and this newsletter and this newsletter, and we're not getting to it, that we need to have updated into our product. Massively important that wasn't getting done, right? That absolutely can be a VA that's doing that. Technical writing documentation and getting things updated into the help center database, right? The FAQs. Again, not the best use of an $80,000 developer's time. Marketing and RevOps. Doing Salesforce.com cleanup and building out, removing duplicates, adding missing data, going and getting people's LinkedIn profiles and so forth. Doing RFP follow-ups on deals, right? These are all things like, hey, I'm so busy, we're going to all these trade shows you signed up for. I can't even follow up with the RFPs I have out there, much less the new ones that are coming in, right? So these are probably not foreign things that maybe you've kind of heard, but you do this exercise, it's unreal what gets unpacked. And this is how we end up finding this is a great entry point of how to get people to explore this journey. These are making unhappy employees, and it's not the best return on the salaries that you're paying, right? And so this is always the comment that I end up hearing from the CEO, the manager, after they go through this exercise. Julie, you have been with us for 8 years. You have 27 items on this sheet. Why haven't you told me this before? Julie, well, you never really asked me this way before. And it's exactly what happens, right? Is that the outcome from this process. There's a client of ours in New Zealand, I remember, she called me up after this. She heard me speak at an event and did this. She's like, Brad, I have employees who've been with me for 12 years, and she came with 62 items on this sheet. Stuff that she had perspective of growth opportunities that were brilliant. I just never even knew because I never asked her that way. So the fact is that what gets your attention and focus is what gets done, right? In anything in life, what we focus on, going narrow is what gets done. And the question is that are your employees and yourself, right, is what you want to get done getting done, right? Or is it other things that you can kind of transition? So the impact, like with this, one example of some of the stuff that they had about 200 hours worth of monthly stuff that was getting done in areas that got shifted over to want and should be doing categories, right? And so it's a situation where like it's 1 + 1 = 4. You take an $80,000 a year base sales rep, right? And you pair them with like a $18,000, $20,000 a year full-time VA, right? Now all of a sudden they're closing 3 times as many deals because A, they get to do what they love doing every day, which is close deals and be on the phone, not entering CRM or messing with business cards, right? So they're getting higher financial performance for the business, happier employees, more meaningful work, higher retention, and attract better talent. The interesting thing about this is for companies that embrace this and start using offshore VAs and so forth, it attracts talent because they can't go work anywhere else where they're going to give them a full-time staff working with them, or at least a split person between them and someone else that's going to do all the administrative support for them. It becomes an incredible retention tool and attraction tool for talent. So this, and I promise you guys, I did not touch a word on this. This is an email that was sent from a guy, Jeff Luther, that owns this company called Home Pro Inspections, right? It's a home inspection company. And it could not more perfectly capture the essence of what this is about. And he got this email and he forwarded it over to me afterwards. And the subject line was, "You were right." Jeff, today I told Steph, my VA, that hiring her was the best decision I made all year. Thanks for helping me see to take a chance on it. She has blown me away with her ability to figure out stuff on HubSpot. We for sure traded up, even with the limitations of virtual. The other part I didn't expect is that for me, the possibilities of what I see we can do in marketing are so much bigger when I know I have someone who will help. So this is at least part of what you mean when you say, be the executive and replace yourself. This is exactly what happens. People get empowered. This was somebody who fought it, right? This Melanie fought this whole thing. I had a chance to talk with her when I went and visited, and then starts embracing it. And now this is changing my life. And can I have another one? And I see, you're not trying to fire me and replace me. You're trying to elevate me to a whole nother place, right? And they were able to launch another office in Charleston after Atlanta because of this stuff, right? And I'll share a direct video. So this is actually a direct video of a company called Make Me Fabulous that does, they do weddings and they do like makeup and hair and stuff at scale for a very large number of I think several hundred, weddings and stuff throughout the year. And so this is a video that a woman sent just sharing her experience.
I have been working with Christine for the past 3 years now, and I just wanted to give a shout out to her because she has literally made my business absolutely incredible. She has been a game changer. I was working so much and I was losing my mind trying to answer hundreds of emails and do all of the work on top of it. And since I have had Christine in my life, it literally, I just had a baby this last year, and I have been able to, I just 100% have all of my trust in her, and everything gets done. Everyone is happy. I'm so elated. I could not thank her enough, and I really could not run my business without her. And so I think she deserves this award more than anyone, and I'm so grateful for her forever.
Yeah, cut off there, but in the essence, right, it's like those employees, those people exist in our companies, right, that are just overwhelmed, and it's just, this is like this release valve that changes their life, right, whenever this kind of thing can happen. And so she was talking about this award. So we do a VA of the Year award, and so we have clients submit videos of why they think their VA should be submitted, and we have a huge award, and they're on the front of a magazine that we do. Another case study I'll share. This woman, her name's Jana. She actually was in the audience. I mean, just heard me speak when I was speaking and educating on this, even before I did Outsource Access. And she was sitting in a situation almost in bankruptcy. She had maxed out all her credit cards, had to move back in with her parents. She was trying to launch this online company to help pair senior citizens with home senior citizen care centers, and was struggling. Heard me talk about this, how to leverage these resources, where to find them, how to engage them. And I didn't know this until she reached out like a year and a half later. But she went from bankruptcy to $500,000 in revenue by getting about 8 to 10 people offshore and resources, and created 15 jobs in the United States because of being able to get her business out of a mess that she hired local people that would be the concierges with clients that they had on board. So that's part of the irony with this as well, is that this helps grow companies and build and creates opportunities, actually creates more jobs, ironically enough, in the US a lot of times when companies can scale. And that's about 95% of what I found and what we do in my industry. It's not about replacing people. It's about augmenting and helping people accelerate what they currently have. Another case study, this is a guy named Ali Jamal who's got a commercial real estate business. He's actually a YPO'er, and a bunch of things that they do, and they have a bunch of properties. And one of the things that was sitting on that currently doing task list that one of their employees shared was posting hundreds of property listings on Craigslist. Right, they had an employee that was posting all this stuff on Craigslist, spending hours and hours doing it, not meaningful work, wasn't what they were hired to do. So ended up hiring a VA, this guy Edison. Edison took over the manual task of doing all these posting of all these Craigslist. And furthermore, to the point of these people being smart and talented, he went and searched on YouTube and found a way to write code to do it automated. So furthermore, the VA then found a way to outsource the process, right? And because it impacted the speed at which they were able to post on Craigslist, he said it had a $50,000 impact for them in the first quarter that they started doing this, right? So I'm just sharing you just one of 100 examples, but these are the interesting, this isn't like outsourcing just a call center, right? It's the nitty-gritty administrative, operational, marketing stuff that you can take your existing people, unpack, integrate with offshore resources into the business and work side by side, almost like they're full-time people, into the business. Another case study. This is a company, actually another YPO member, Asha and Achana Chaudhry. They got a company called Hyper Living, right? They are a rug manufacturer. They manufacture rugs in India, and they sell through interior designers in the United States, right? That's how they sell, not through big distributors and warehouses. And a task on the radar with their sales reps is like, hey, we can't get to dormant leads due to the current RFPs, trade shows, and events, right? We got so much going on. We got 3,000 dormant leads of interior designers that aren't producing business for us or sending us business. This is if you're asking to help, that's what we need help with, right? So I hired 3 VAs, Veka, Shinthia, Maria. They dug in. They created a process to dig into those 3,000 dormant leads, generated $500,000 in revenue in 6 months just by doing outreach and digging into those, right? Those things, you ask your employees, what's on the radar? What could we be doing? What can make an impact? That's a substantial financial with about a 4,000% ROI, right? Another industry, right? And I'm sharing you guys a cross-reference. It doesn't matter industry, right? This is a telecom company that's based out of Birmingham called Palco. And Phil Terry, who's the VP of Business Development, he's in charge of business development and international operations. And the thing on his currently doing list was having to constantly keep open RFPs warm for enterprise jobs that they were doing, and then also some extensive project management that they were doing with operations work. And ended up hiring a VA, Paz and Johanna, who then took on, trained them, right? And then they absorbed all the project plan communication, so that came off of his plate. RFP templates, they created templates for him in Canva to do the RFPs. And then they handled all the RFP follow-up and doing all the updates in CRM. All this stuff was on his plate as a VP that's probably making, I don't know, $100,000+ a base per year. They're actually about to hire a third one now as well because it has had such an impact with all their sales teams, elevating them out of administrative and operational clutter to higher value kind of activities. Another case study for a residential painting business, right? To give you, again, another odd reference. A company called Wow One Day Painting. It's a franchise. And one of their tasks on the radar was, we want to get before and after pictures. Our painters are out there, but we don't have somebody internally. We're lean on staff. We want to get before and after pictures of the houses we're painting so we can post on social. And then also, when our people go to Sherwin-Williams and buy paint for jobs, we need to get those receipts immediately loaded in so we could attribute those to specific jobs and know P&L by job cost. Wasn't getting done, right? Hired a VA. Actually, Dan Ryan, when I was in the Philippines, I did a sit down. I have a whole interview series I do called Outsourcing Works. It's kind of like a little morning show series that I do, interviewing, and just them sharing what their journey's been like working with clients. And immediately, set up an email account. Dan was able to get the emails from the painters out in the field. They would take before and after pictures. He'd send it to them. He'd load them into Canva, do the before and after, put the logo on it, log into the owner's LinkedIn account, and then go tag all the customers. So now all of a sudden, he's getting this rapid visibility. And then also with Sherwin-Williams started taking the receipts. They would just take pictures of them, send them to him. He would take them, itemize them, and then load them into QuickBooks to attribute them specifically to jobs, right? So this is all the kind of stuff. And I don't know what you guys came into this thinking about outsourcing and VAs and the kind of things they can do, but it's a whole other world I uncovered when I started going down this journey. This is another case study of a company that does commercial refrigeration repair. They do commercial refrigeration, HVAC repair for all the Whole Foods and Walmarts and stuff down in the Southeast, called Advanced Commercial. And actually, I taught this guy. This is actually a former mate of mine in EO. I taught him how to do this before I even launched the business, like showed him how to find people and so forth. And he has blown it away in his industry. The HVAC commercial refrigeration industry is very fragmented. He gets 2 to 3 private equity offers a week because they have no idea how he's scaling so fast. He started with one. Now he has a team of 15 VAs in the Philippines that do ARP, AP, quadrupled their revenue in 5 years. They reconcile GPS reports when their drivers are out in the field driving to make sure that they're being truthful in their timesheets. They reconcile GPS reports and timesheets, CRM administration, warehouse order management. And he's taken that savings and the growth and reinvested to his local employees. And again, he had a whole crew. This is an old school type of environment, right? Kind of trade business. They fought him tooth and nail about using offshore resources. Now all of them, I got a chance to tour his business recently, rave about it, and they can't get enough. So he just hires, anytime they want an additional one, they can have one. But he buys lunch for everybody every day now. But happier workers, retaining talent, and retracting talent. And this is the last one I'll share with you. It's called Support Services of Virginia. This is a home health care business. Chip Dodd's in the top left. They provide nurses for in-home health care for indigent population throughout Virginia. It gets paid by the government, right, through Medicare and so forth. And, he started off with one himself, right, to kind of begin this journey. His staff saw it. Again, they kind of pushed back initially on it. But fast forward, 4 years now? They have a team of 6 that now integrate into all their departments, marketing, operations, HR, admin. He says, Brad, my employees, if I told them they can't have their VA, would walk out the door on me tomorrow, right? Because back to the title of this whole session, how do you attract and retain your local W-2 talent with outsourcing? And they cannot go work any other company where the CEO has the vision around doing this to get a full-time resource kind of supporting. And they're like family. Like this whole group, like they know each other really well and collaborate. And that's what I would share. An interesting byproduct of this is the gratitude by these individuals working with people in a third world country, the level of gratitude and appreciation that they end up having, learning and meeting these people and understanding their lives, right? The humbleness. And one guy that I taught how to do this stuff, he sent me a picture, and literally on the side of their wall in their offices in Atlanta had the faces of all their people in the Philippines that work for their team. One of them, in another business, one of their VA staff ended up getting breast cancer. And his own employees who work with them raised all the money to help fund her breast cancer work, and the company kind of matched it. So it's not this like third-party arm's length. In some cases, some companies it is that case, but with a lot of this, what I'm talking about, it's how you can bring these people in and they integrate and become a part of your team at just a much more affordable, scalable rate. Without matching FICA taxes and without healthcare, right? They basically full-time staff integrated into the business. And I do a whole thing on my podcast with Chip and kind of sharing his journey. So the other quick thing I'll share is the impact on the CEO, right? Bringing the shiny balls to life, right? The ideas that we all have that we'd love to do, and all of our integrators and our staff tell us, no, you can't do them, right? But only if you should. But it allows you to activate some ideas, which I'll share a couple of quick examples. So Chip, for example, he now, having all these VAs supporting his staff and team member, and he has one, he wanted to launch a whole nonprofit. He loves adventure racing. Chip literally spends his entire life out on the road now. He does nothing but global adventure racing, manages the business remotely, and he launched, it's called This Ability. So now he started a nonprofit to actually raise money for his own industry, for his company now, because of having these resources. For me, I had this vision. I wanted to have a walk-in location. I want to be the only company to have a walk-in location in the United States where somebody could walk in and interview people from another country, right? Most people would do it online, but it would create credibility for us. And so I had this idea of it. And so on our website, I wanted to create PR and buzz around it. So I had a VA, I said, hey, and I gave him a screencast and said, hey, I want you to kind of make this walk-in facility that kind of looks like this building. And I sent it to him, and this was the outcome of it. And the point was to put this on our website so we could do a press release around it and create buzz about, hey, this is coming soon, a physical walk-in location that we wanted to have. You can see very, very high quality, right? Kind of CGI type rendering. Kind of shows the outside, and at the end of it, we kind of go through the inside. It shows all the rooms and the front desk and the lobby. But the point is, we got this done in 2 days for like $50, right? being able to activate the talent and ability of our team members, right? Was able to bring people think that costs $3,000, right? When I show it to them. But it's something I would never even thought to do, but now it's on our website. We did a press release on it. It got us tons of business, just the buzz around us potentially having a walk-in location. I did this right before COVID, so obviously that didn't happen. So we paused on that whole thing. But, right, it's the creative stuff that when you start doing this, that you just don't realize the things that you can activate using these resources. And I mentioned like the one-on-one connections business. I mean, I launched this business out of the ground, got a website up, got the video up, launched it, got 2 VAs in the Philippines that run this for 40 organizations, doing 20,000 connections as of today, globally, right? That was able to bring to life because of knowing how to use these offshore talented resources. And another positive byproduct of going down this path is processes get documented. Right? How many of you have had that employee walk out the door, or you're terrified that employee is going to walk out the door, that all of it's right here, right? And it's going to leave. So one of the benefits of doing this is it makes kind of the outsourcing company you work with the bad guy, because like, hey, if you're going to transition this stuff off, we got to document processes, right? So we have these like super granular, we're fanatical about these, we have like 80 or 90 page process playbooks sometimes for clients when we've been working with them. And that's an example of one, I think, for a commercial real estate client, where it documents all the processes of everything. So it's an interesting byproduct. When you go down this road, it forces these to get documented. A quick little tactical tool I'm going to share with you to document processes. How many of you do screencasting, like Screencast-O-Matic or Loom? Right, so several of you have. If not, if you take nothing else away today, this tool will change your life. Like, it is the way I communicate with everything. And it's the way that we have our staff. Because a lot of people are like, how do I unpack my head and explain to a VA like how to do my general ledger, or how to like go and give them feedback on a website edit and so forth. Well, ScreenPal.com and Loom.com, you download it, it records your screen, your voice, and your mouse. So it's purely a synchronous kind of recording, right? So this is an example I was giving to my web developer of something I wanted to do on a website, and I was giving him an idea that I wanted this award to kind of look like the J.D. Power and Associates Award. So I was able to get it out of my head quickly and get it over to him, and it got done immediately.
Hey team, great job on kind of getting this award concept displayed on our homepage. But just one quick feedback. I know we're going to do this as a placeholder of this plaque concept, but there's an award concept in the U.S. that's called J.D. Power and Associates, and all the companies that do it, if you Google J.D. Power and Associates, you'll see, do an image search.
So you can see whatever's on my screen, it records my screen. It has a little yellow thing kind of on my mouse movement. But my personal VA now, I haven't tied a live conversation in 2 years. All we do is asynchronous screencasting, right? And this is a phenomenal way to document your processes in your business. When you're trying to get people to do things and how to go in and do certain things, CRM administration or what have you, you do screencast recordings. So hopefully you've seen from this, right? The industry and function does not matter. I've shared everything from telecom companies to real estate to wedding planners, right? It's only the mindset of kind of going down this journey and exploring it, giving your employees psychological safety to kind of engage it. And it's a win-win-win. I'll close out sharing sort of from an impact standpoint, this picture right here. So Jaysel, who I shared, a couple months after she and I started working together to begin with, she said, Brad, because of the money that I'm making with you and the opportunity I've got, I was actually able to go buy shoes for these children that have to walk them, an hour and a half back and forth to school every single day. And so she showed me this picture. And I said, Jaysel, no, we're going to take this company. We were like, 10 people at that time. I said, but we're going to have a whole VA Give Back initiative around this. And I had recently done the United Nations, talk at that point as well. And so it became a fabric of everything that we do. So it's a win-win where, these people in these countries are having access to a career and income that they never would have had before in their life. You're getting workers that are more affordable for your existing employees, and your existing employees that you want to focus on higher value activities are generating more value for the company, and they're happier when their feet to the ground every day that they get to do what they love, right? So I'll share real quick just to get a sense of the back-end culture of how this sort of all works, because a lot of people have a perception of like this being a sweatshop thing and like, are these people taken care of and so forth. So we recently had to submit a video for a culture award for our company. So this is a quick 2023 recap, couple minutes, just to kind of bring you in and give you a sense of sort of the culture and the environment. Because essentially, when you show existing employees that have doubt, fears, and concerns, when you show them this kind of content, they're like, oh, that's what this is like? It was kind of cool. We won the Inc. 5000, and and we were on the number 326, and we made replicas of the Inc. 5000 and gave it to all of our leaders, and then we invited their parents and surprised them with their parents to kind of come. It's a picture of their families. And a wonderful thing in the Philippines is we're able to be much more liberal with supporting, right, all walks of life. And we have a lot of transgender, like a lot of employees from all walks of life, and it's a lot of fun being able to do some of the events that we do. They know how to party. They know how to have a good time. And badminton's huge over there. When I went, we always play a big badminton tournament that we always kind of have together as well. And we created social clubs, and so all of our staff work remote, by the way. So we have an office, but everybody works remotely. And that's another big thing in these countries. People can work from home. It gave us a whole other level of access to talent when we let people work from home. But we have everybody come together for events. So it's kind of like this hybrid situation where people can work virtually. And that last one, we bought like 150 pairs of shoes. So that whole shoe concept that Jay Sell started, when I went over last time, we bought 150 pairs of shoes for children at elementary school, and we're buying computers for them and supporting. So that's kind of the impact side that kind of brought in, inspired from the SDG initiatives that we kind of learned. So that's Jay Sell. That's her and I's action shot from the badminton tournament when I was there back in November. That's her, like always like, Brad, what are you asking me to do? I'm like, no, just go ahead. So it's a good reflection of kind of what our relationship is. So look, every story isn't a success, right? There are challenges and failures, but if you take time to measure 10 times and cut once, which is sort of what I've learned a lot now in my 44 years in terms of entrepreneurship, is I try to triple down on how we go about the process, right? And if you treat people well, you pay people well, you take time to communicate using tools like screencasting and so on and so forth, and selecting people effectively, whether you go through different channels, it can be a win, right? You got to put in the effort. So there's definitely failure points and so forth, and human beings are human beings. We'll vet people and think that they're fantastic and they're all excited, and all of a sudden, like, something happens, a life event, right? But the vast majority of it, if you put the time and effort in it, when you do get a handle on this and you get this incredible, rich experience with someone you're working with, it's like a magic toolbox. Like, it just allows you to your dollars to stretch and to do things in ways you never would have thought possible before. So, coming back to the original question, do you and your staff wake up every day doing what you love, right? And at the end of the day, when it talks about retaining and bringing on talent and leaders in your organization, which is what all of us are trying to do, right? This can give you an edge and an interesting angle to really help empower people to live in that place, right? Because that's, at the end of the day, the silent quitting and stuff that happens is when just people start getting loaded up with just more stuff. And when you do that 2-question exercise, there's more stuff your people don't like doing than you realize, right? That's not necessarily because they're lazy. It's just not what they were trained on or they're skilled for, right?
Real speakers, real coaches, real investors, real companies. No matter your destiny, all roads lead to Real Leaders Unite.